Right, I just talked to my broker. I said I'm 1.6 clicks, 1 mile away from the shipper. And today is what? Today is Wednesday, I think, right? September 1st. Yeah, Wednesday, September 1st. So 10 o'clock. Wow, I thought I'd be here at 9:30, but it's been, you know, I'm in Zanesville, Ohio, and so it's just east of Columbus. So I-70 east of Columbus, right? So you see, I went around Columbus this morning. I was in Wapakoneta. That's where I spent the night at the TA on I-75 and US 33, I think. And then here you have to take 40. And when I looked at I really didn't like this turn over here. You know, the GPS was sending me like this from 40, and it's very sharp. You can see it's more than 90 degrees. And so I kept going. I tried to turn on this one. And so I eventually, yeah, I tried to turn on a ridge. I couldn't do it. It's all too narrow, you see, but this one is, people park on the side, you know, no big deal. But yeah, so now I turned on this. What is this? I forgot the name of this road, but anyway, you see how that's what I'm looking for. When I'm in a small town, I look for angle like this, which is less than 90 degrees, right? Which is much better. And it was the same deal here. See, well, it was a bit sharp, but I had to go into opposite lanes, but I finally made the turn. Oh yeah, I think I wanted to turn on this one, couldn't do it. Because of the quad axles. But yeah, this is Zanesville, and I'm just loading, and I thought I'd show you guys. Yeah, because sometimes that's what you have to go through, right? When you're in a small town, you gotta be careful. And I'm looking at that pickup truck the guy is turning over there, so I'm pretty sure this very nice turn, I'm turning on Dryden Road, and then that pretty much I follow that one to that little place where my shipper is. Couldn't find him on the map. It's like one of those equipment rental places. Check this guy. This guy has a bobcat or case with a grass attachment, grass cutting attachment, brush cutter. Oh yeah, it says brush cutter on it. Oh, so it's not for grass, it's for that. So I'm guessing he's cutting. Oh, that's what he was doing. He was cutting all that because there's a little stream in there, like a creek. Huh. Because this is probably vacant property, right? And somebody's trying to sell it. And so they hired this guy to clean it up, make it look more attractive, which is understandable. All right, so I hope it's not too crazy sharp, because you know, I'll be screwed here with this quad trailer. Please be shallow, be a shallow turn. Oh man, I think it's the one at over there, the one at the stop sign. Oh yeah, it is sharp. Son of a gun. You see, like it's, yeah, it looks like that, but then it still turns on more than 90 degrees.
Take the next right onto Dryden Road.
I hate this, you know, because you feel like helpless. There's nothing you can do. Like, what do you do? Well, actually, no, it's not too bad. Okay, you go.
Continue on Dryden Road for 1 kilometer.
Man. Now the question is, how to get out of here with a 12.6 wide dozer. Well, I call it a dozer. Technically, it's a pipe layer, but can you believe this? We have forest in here. Kind of like it was funny at that testing grounds where they have deer walking around. Yeah, like you cannot drive here with an oversized load. I think they would probably definitely want me to have a pilot. Oh yeah, and I was talking to the broker because she was asking me for my SCAC code, SCAC code, which is American code, which is when the one you basically your PAPS, you know, when you cross from Canada into US. You need the SCAC code. And another time you need a SCAC code is when you have a export load, when you're bringing a used machine from the States into Canada and you have to do the 72-hour notice. And she never told me this, that is a 72-hour notice load. And now she says, the customs broker needs to know your SCAC code and your PAS number. So PAS number, that's okay. PAS number, that's for Canada. That's typical, right? But the SCAC code right away got my ears, you know, turning, scanning all frequencies.
Turn left onto Virginia Street.
And I told her, I said, so is this one of those 72-hour notice things? Because you never told me that. So she didn't answer, and so now that's why I stopped there. I just want to make sure.
Take the next left onto Virginia Street, then your destination will be on the right.
I gotta call this guy, so I think it's over there, but how do I enter there? Yeah, go. Yeah, I can see some dozers there. Alright, I need to call the guy. I talked to him yesterday. I know he's somewhere here. So I'm all ready. I got my outrigger boards. And we are in Ohio, of all places. And basically, somebody left a bunch of these pipe layers sitting around, and they said, hey, Captain Sergei, why don't you take one of these to Canada? What an ugly machine. So it's pretty much like a dozer, right? So most of them are converted from I think D9, but of course, as my luck would have it, the one I'm picking up is the real pipe layer. So you see, like this one, the tracks, and you see that one? Well, that's what I'm picking up. But on this one, they still have this. So even though the tracks are smaller, but then you cannot take this off, right? But mine is pretty much like there's no blade, there's no nothing, just white tracks, the engine. But the guy was saying that this weighs a ton. This is all massive, and these final drives are super heavy. And over here there's a fuel tank, because I was asking which side is heavier, so he said it's probably pretty much equal, but he says this side is definitely heavier because of this. So that's where the winch goes in, right, with the mast. So these guys took off everything. You see, like, no counterweights, because this thing weighs about, operating weight is 121,000. So I think these things were on. Oh, let me show. Oh yeah, this thing, probably this is the mast, right? And let's see the counterweights. He was saying the things with the red lines. Yeah, these ones. See, so this has to go on a step deck of flatbed or something. Yeah, like these things. They all from this pipe place. Oh, and actually, yeah, it's cool that my machine doesn't have the cap. It doesn't have the protector. So with my machine, I don't care too much if it turns over and the guy jumps out, right? So see, I just have a seat. Oh yeah, and I asked him to take off the top of the exhaust, because now it's 12.1, and they take the top. It's almost a foot, becomes like 11.6. And then I ordered my permits. We're still waiting to get loaded, but they cleaned them, except there's still dirt in there, of course. But hopefully they go straight. That's what they want to do. They say we want to go straight in the dirt so that they don't turn, otherwise the dirt will attach itself to the tracks. But you see, right now it's pretty clean. But so my machine in the back there, they have to move all these, and then they're gonna go like this, and I'm gonna detach now, park somewhere here. And I said, can I stay here, because I don't have my permit here, right? I wanted to double check the dimensions, because the first guy I dealt with on this load, he said 13 wide. I'm like, man, like the permits will cost, you know, a fortune, and pilots and stuff like that. And he got back to me and he says, oh, actually they say it's 12.10. And then I received the paperwork from my broker, and it says 12.6. And guess which number was correct? If you know my heavy haul rules of heavy haul, then you already should know the answer, though neither of the numbers were correct. But actually 12.6 was the closest one to the truth. So it's 12.7. So it's not 12.10, it's not 13, it's not 12.6, it's 12.7. Which means that I'll be in trouble in Ontario. I'll need a permit. But there's no rush with this thing, because now I know this is a 72-hour notice thing, right? And I'm like 1 day away from the border. But like I said in the previous video, so I'm gonna go to my yard, and we can do a separate video about that, because I will need to do lots of strenuous exercises and change the neck on my trailer. Put the big neck, flip it down, hide the short neck in the grass, then take off the last axle and hook up the stinger that now sitting in the grass over there with the axle attached already. And I'd love to change, I'll need to check the air pressure, because it's been sitting there forever. But the Jeep, for sure, the Jeep was sitting there since, I don't know, January, February, I forgot last time I used it. No, I used it actually 2 months ago or something. But I'm gonna take it to a tire shop, check all pressures, make sure it's all good, all cool. And I was asking the guy, I said, give me a crash course how you drive this machine. And it's very different. This is my first pipe layer. I never had a pipe layer before, so there's all kinds of weird levers in there. They don't have the levers like in the floor, like in the excavator. And there's a joystick, but of course that's, he says, no, you don't touch that joystick, that's for the attachment. Like the joysticks looks like pretty new, you know, like a new style. But over here you have two levers, but they're like different style, and they're horizontal, and you pull and push instead of like those ones on the floor on an excavator. And there's gears, and of course this guy, he's so accustomed to these, and I said, do you have to push the clutch to go into gear? He's looking at me, he says, there's no clutch. I said, what are these two pedals? He says, these are your brakes. So each track has its own brake pedal. So I said, how do you push it into gear? And there's like a box in here on the left, and there's a lever with a blocking kind of like barrier that you have to move first so that you can go into gear. And there's like 3 gears in reverse, 3 forward, and he says, yeah, once you move that block, the block arm, you just push it into gear. No clutch. Okay. I said, where's hydraulics? He's looking at me again. I said, well, you know how in an excavator, right, to start everything, you have to, there's an arm usually, you flip down. And then I catch myself and I say, wait a second, what hydraulics? This thing, there's no blade here. You don't have to raise anything, right? It's just the engine and the tracks. Because it's a pipe layer, everything is removed. But probably for the winch, probably, right? I'm thinking maybe it's all mechanical. Maybe there's no hydraulics, I don't know. Well, there should be hydraulics somewhere because it's kind of like a crane, right? It lifts the big pipe. That's what it does, right? Like a pipe layer, it has that little sling, and it goes around the pipe, and it can move pipe. And when they build, you know, pipeline. And actually, it's cool that where I'm going, it's a pipeline site. So I think it's like in the middle of nowhere, because they said originally, they said Edmonton. But then there's some kind of like a name of the pipeline site. So it's gonna be exciting. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty unusual trip, you know, with this changing thing, right? But I have to do it. Like if I go directly through US, right, I can go through Chicago, then Iowa, you know, Wisconsin, and then Montana, and enter Alberta. I'm okay on the state side, like I mentioned before, but as soon as I enter Alberta, I have to lift my pusher axle. So now I have a 3-axle truck, and I have to take off or raise the last axle on the trailer because they don't recognize quad trailers. So now I have 6 axles, and this thing is 97,000 pounds. So 97 plus 60 is 157, right? Can we do 157 on 6 axles? Because actually now it's still summer, right? But let's say no, but the front they only allow 16. So 157 minus 16, that leaves 141 for 5 axles. Okay, minus 23 on drive 1, minus 23 on drive 2, and that leaves 95 for 3 axles in the back. 95 divided by 3 is 31, which they may allow if you have wider tires in the summer, but my axles are rated at 23,000 pounds. Like if they read the serial plate, they will know that I'm overloaded. So no, you need I need a Jeep, and I need just a 3+1 Stinger. I don't need 2+2, because that would be way too difficult to do with this with this machine, but because of the weight, you know, I'd have to take off 2 axles, and everything will be on, all the weight will be on 2 axles. That's not good. They'll go into the ground. But 3 + 1 should be relatively easy. I'll just run. I'm thinking I'm gonna drop the front of the trailer, but before that I'm gonna put some boards on the tires, right, and just run the rear of the trailer on some boards so that it's higher, and that should make it possible to remove the last axle, because, you know, once I take the air out, the trailer should be higher than the last axle, right, and then I can disconnect it, and then the wrecker guy can bring the stinger thing and hook it up. And I remember, I think we changed all the hoses. Remember those quick connects? We were changing them to make sure they all fit. So now I hope they all fit, like the XL3, so it's possible to hook up XL3 to the stinger. Well, worst case scenario, I'll have to call a mobile repair guy. But yeah, I'll definitely have to check tires on the Jeep. So, but you know, I was actually driving thinking about this, about all these trailers and regulations. But yeah, occasionally I want to go to Western Canada because, you know, it's so different, and you go through Northern Ontario, you know, it's beautiful in the summer. So I like doing these long trips occasionally, but they're very expensive, right? They're very expensive. Lots of expenses up front. So you gotta have deep pockets, you know. Well, I spent all day here. This guy showed up at around lunchtime. He's still loading. It's almost 6 o'clock now. So I was here at what? At 9:30, 10. Actually, we didn't start loading because the guy he says, "Are you in a rush?" I said, "No, I don't even have my my permits yet." So he was still putting some decals on it. But you probably saw the, check this out. That's what this machine did. And he said, and the guy says, the guy who owns this yard, and they're just renting, he says he only allows us to load here because he says if we screw up the asphalt, we cannot go in there unless it's like a regular load. That's why they're loading that guy over there. He says normally we load here. And so I'll be running with 8 axles, and this thing is really wide. And there were some things just lying loose, a couple of pieces. I said, "What is that?" "Oh, well, they're pretty good. They're sitting pretty good in there, but if you want, you can move them." And they're like 2 huge chunks of iron, you know, with a plate, basically like a huge bolt, like, I don't know, like 3 feet long, and then a plate on the other side. So I'm guessing it was holding either the cylinder or something there, and he just put them in there. "Oh, they look good." I said, "No, I cannot do that." So I put them in my chain compartment, and then these were, and I said, "What are these?" You know, like these cylinders, like anything holding them? And the guy says, "Well, but they're pretty heavy." He says, "If you try to lift it, I don't think they're going anywhere." And I said, "Well, I cannot have that either, you know, I have to tie it down, right?" And he says, "Well, I don't want you to push it too hard because you see over there it's pushing into the filter." And so I tried this way and that with a strap. It's super hard, and so I ended up using this one of my 2 3/8 chains, right? Because all my chains are 1/2 inch, but I do carry, and they quite often they come in useful for something like this, you know, where you don't want to push it. So you see, this pushes that arm this way, but it prevents this from flapping, because basically, yeah, he says they're not hooked up to anything. In theory, if there's something happens, like you know, loss of gravity somewhere, he says they can go down. So they're just lying on top of each other. So you have to look out for things like that, you know, when you're loading this machinery. But in this one, normally it's like 121,000 pounds. And so they took off, you know, counterweights and this mast over here and a bunch of stuff. Actually, that's what that guy is loading. He's loading, that's fall off, as they call it, fall off stuff from my machine and I think from the other machine. Yeah, you see, that's where the counterweights were. And so I put a bunch of chains on it. They said it's 97,000, so of course, you know my motto: overchain and under promise. Overchain, under promise, and overperform. And so that's what I did. So there's one chain here, there's 2 on each side, there's 2 chains inside. See, like these ones, 2 chains inside pulling this way, and there's 2 chains pulling this way, and then I use that like this. So you see, these are canceling each other out, which is perfect. So this one pulls this way, this one pulls this way, so they're not gonna get loose. And that's why I had to angle those. You know, that's the trick, right? You have to angle the chains to counterbalance each other. So you cannot have two chains pulling this way and 1 chain pulling this way. You have to do 2 and 2 or 3 and 3, right? And so this one is pulling backwards, and there's a method to that madness. Is because this one is pulling slightly forward. You see that? Right? So that chain, those 2 chains prevent this one from getting loose, right? But over here I couldn't do it the way I want it to. But actually it's not too bad. You see, like they both complement each other. This one pulls this way, this one pulls this way, but I think on the other end it's a bit different. But you know, I gotta work with what I have, right? And over here I just use those big pins. It doesn't look like they, you know, they're not polished. Normally if it's like a polished steel, I would never put a chain around it, but nothing is polished over there. And so I did it like this. And this, I asked the guy, yeah, I see that's the serial number he was putting on. And I asked the guy, and I bought a new sign a couple of days back, so this is the first time I'm using it. Decided to put it over here because it gets very dirty if you put it on the back of a trailer. Just use some bungee cords. I hope it doesn't fall off. Oh, and the last thing I got to do, you see that? That's the tallest point, and it's so stupid. There was one of those covers, you know, that goes up and down depending on the how much you know, smoke is coming out. So I was able to take that one off, but then this piece I cannot take it off because this is a 1979 machine. Let me say that again. It was built in 1979, so it's 42 years old, and I'm guessing that thing was never taken off, so it's like baked in there. But I was able to take the collar off. There was a collar, and I took that, you know, quick thing with that flaps up and down. But I need to take this off because if I leave that, I'm 14 feet. Okay, I don't want to be 14 feet because I ordered my permits. I told them I was 1310 because I was counting on this. And the guy says, yeah, I'll take it off. I said, you have any tools? Because I use like a screwdriver with a hammer, trying to lift those, you know, pieces of steel on the side. But this thing is just it's baked in, it's all rusted, but there's nothing inside there. Like if I take it off, I gain pretty much the entire, well, maybe like this much. I gain like this, you know, 4 inches, 5 inches, which is perfect. Yeah, I need to take it off. The guy promises me, he says as soon as he's done with this flatbed, he's gonna, I hope he doesn't forget. If he forgets, I'll just knock it off. I don't know, I'll take a big hammer and I just knock it off. I don't care. I don't want to be 14 in near Toronto because there's a bunch of low bridges over there. I want to be under 14. Okay. Yeah, and I found escorts. So civilian escort is coming tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Go from there. And I disconnected the truck and I didn't eat anything all day, so I found a gas station, you know, that Sheets. I love that gas station because it has that deli inside, you know, where you can order anything. And I was so hungry, I said, screw this, no diets today. So I had a couple of sandwiches and some Diet Coke, you know. Oh yeah, and I was trying to find the proper route because, you know, I'm so wide. You know, I had trouble coming in here, and I came from that side. And I talked to these guys, and they say actually it's better to go back this way and turn left, and there's a light, set of lights. But I just went in there, and there's cars parked on both sides. You know, it's pretty narrow, so I'm not sure how we're gonna make it out of here. But that's why I asked the pilot to meet me here, even though technically I only need him at those restricted structures, you know, those bridges. But because I knew that it'll be a nightmare to getting out of here, so I want to have a pilot. So I'll pay him for this extra 25 miles. But he's gonna cover my butt, you know, maybe block the traffic somewhere, or he can go and investigate, hey, is that street good? But the good news is that my permits are issued, Ohio, Michigan, but Michigan Friday 12 o'clock noon you have to be off the road with this load. So today's Wednesday, right? So tomorrow is Thursday. So I'll probably be sitting the long weekend at the border because it's a 72-hour rule thing, right? And so they just send me the confirmation. So I think they only applied today. So Wednesday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it'll only be ready Saturday, but you cannot drive in Michigan Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday because of the long weekend, because of the Labor Day. So I'm guessing I just want to get to the border, shut down in that Smith Creek or Marysville with the Meyer on one side, and sit tight and wait till the restriction is over. So that's my load. Thanks for watching.